and thank you for watching today's strategy video. We're discussing considerations for timeouts and looking at alternatives called time-ins. Timeouts are usually used when adults are frustrated with a child. Maybe a child is doing something they've been told not to do, or the alternative, an adult has told a child to do something and they're refusing, and they've told the adult no, they're not going to do it. Those moments are really frustrating. It's tiring to tell a child again and again to do something or not to do something and not get the results that you were hoping for. It makes sense that an adult would need a break in those moments. Usually, though, for timeouts, it's the child that gets sent away, either to their bedroom or to a timeout chair, depending on where they're at. Often we see a child become more upset while going to timeout. They may have been calm during the misbehavior, but now that they're told they have to go to timeout or are taken to timeout, they're crying and screaming, laying on the floor, maybe kicking. So we have to stop and ask ourselves, is this working? Most adults want timeouts to be used so a child can take a break to go and think about their behavior, to feel sorry for their behavior, maybe make an apology when they get back, but ultimately to change the behavior so it's not continuing to happen. We really have to stop and consider if we are having to use timeouts again and again for the same child for roughly the same behaviors, is it effective in changing the behavior that we hope it will? Um, and if it's not, then we need to look at some alternatives. There are some reasons that it might not be effective. The development of the child. If a child is young, they're going to struggle to connect their behavior with consequences and make a different choice with timeouts because there's that time gap in between. Young children quickly forget what led to the timeout in the first place. So how are they then going to make a different choice when they go back to the situation? Another thing to consider is the child can easily get the message that they are bad, that they don't deserve to be around other people if they're getting sent away, or if they're in a location that, let's say they're in a classroom and they're in that timeout chair, other children know that that's where the bad kids go or the kids that are in trouble. So it can become a label for a child pretty quickly. And if you take on the label of you are the bad kid, you do bad things. That's who you are, that's what's expected of you. And it can really increase the behavior, the very behavior that we are hoping to decrease and to change. So we want to look for other alternatives. And another alternative could be a time in. Whereas with timeouts, children are sent to go somewhere to think about the behavior. Time ins are looking for constructive ways to use this behavior and see it as a learning opportunity. Often, this behavior can be seen as the child is intentionally trying to do something to aggravate the adult or another child. Um, but really, we can stop and think, is a child not having a skill that they need to make a better choice? Or are they just struggling in the moment? And do they need support? We can use it as an opportunity to help the child regulate their own emotions and model that for a child if they're beginning to get worked up. Or we can help them teach empathy in those moments and learn empathy in those moments by pointing out emotions in others. Let's say a child is having a conflict with a friend. Maybe one child has taken toys from another and that friend is now upset, maybe there's tears or there's a frown on the face, we can point those things out to the child who took the toy so that they're able to begin to recognize that their actions have consequences in others and to see the nonverbal signs of someone else's emotions so that they can connect emotions um, and know that their actions have consequences and that when they do something, it affects their peers. And so, in those moments, it also helps maintain relationships, not only with the friend that's got was hurt because they're staying in the moment to help resolve that situation, but it also helps build the relationship with the caring adult. With timeouts, they're being sent away to go by themselves to calm down and regulate their emotions and think about actions. But then with if they do a time in, they can stay with the adult. An adult can help them regulate their emotions by first being calm themselves and modeling, maybe taking a deep breath, um, or counting, doing something else that's calming to help calm down. Also, with timeouts, an adult is helping a child think of alternatives if their behavior isn't appropriate. So they're thinking of different choices that they could have. If you have a young child, maybe you're using visuals to help think of better choices. All of that helps create a sense of safety with that caring adult who's helping a child really in the moment when they're not at their best. Or in these moments, are teaching skills to your children that can help them make positive decisions, not only in that moment, but also when you're not there. And that's ultimately what we want. We want children to be able to make wise decisions and healthy decisions for both themselves and others that they're around, whether or not there's a caring adult in the moment present observing them. Sometimes children um, just need a moment to themselves, though. And we can still allow that in the midst of a time in a respectful way, in a constructive way, um, but allowing them to have some time by themselves by creating a safe place. And that's a place where a child can go and they can have things that help them regulate their emotions and make wise choices. Um, it's also called a calm down corner or a cozy corner. It can have a variety of names, but it's a place where a child can feel safe and have tools to help them. It might have books that talk about emotions or stuffed animals to squeeze or soft pillow to snuggle up against or a blanket, some pictures that help identify emotions, something to draw. All these things you can see in these pictures are helpful to kids and give them tools to help calm down so that they can come back then if they're at a place where their emotions are just really heightened. Adults can also model going to the calm down corner or the safe place themselves when they're having a rough time. And we can show children that we don't have to get to this escalated point where we're going to blow up before we utilize some tools to help us calm down. Looked at several great resources when putting this together. You can see those here. You can also continue to follow us on YouTube and our Facebook channel for more social and emotional resources. We're regularly updating both of those. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, this has been helpful.